time to get real with
YouTube,
Jahira.
what's the deal?
It's time to get real with Jahira. It's time to get real with Jahira.
YouTube, what's the deal?
What's the deal? One love.
YouTube, what's the deal? It's your girl Jahira, and I am back. Hi, y'all. I had to drop by and offer my thoughts on what has just, in the past couple of hours, come down the proverbial news pipe with regard to the death of Bishop Eddie Long. When the proverbial train that is my channel first started to pick up speed, I had made a series of videos regarding the scandal surrounding Bishop Eddie Long. And those videos were watched. Yeah, I mean, the views consistently numbered in the thousands, which for, the fat chick in the corner just kind of like spouting off at the mouth, like that was a big deal for me. That kind of, those numbers were big. The interest in what was going on with Eddie Long was pretty palpable. And so I kind of feel like I owe it to my long-term subtastics, hey y'all, to put a period at the end of this sentence, if you will. For those of you who may not be aware, I have to believe there are some of you, Bishop Eddie Long is, of course, a member of the clergy who was stationed, if you will, out of Atlanta. And this was a man who denounced same-gender love. I mean, audibly and frequently. It came out in the later part of his life that, people had come forward, men, young men, very young men, had come forward and asserted that Eddie Long had engaged in a sexual relationship with them. There were, to my knowledge, 5 accusers who came forward. And it certainly, had an effect on Eddie Long and his ministry. And shortly thereafter, and by shortly I mean a couple of years later, Eddie Long's health began to decline. And as of today, he is no longer in his physical body. I don't really want to talk a lot about the health stuff. It was reported that he was dealing with stage 4 cancer. There are people who have other theories about this. I'm not going to perpetuate a stereotype and I'm not going to give the health thing any credence. The bottom line is that he's gone. But here's what I will talk about. There has been a very interesting, telling response to the news that Bishop Eddie Long has passed away. And there are people who are sort of offering their compassion. And, we kind of have this propensity as a society to canonize the dead. And then there are people who feel that he is undeserving of compassion. And this has caused a little bit of division. There are factions beginning to form. It's not super dramatic. It's not, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like the nation is in an uproar or anything, but I've just, quietly been watching as two very intentional opinions have begun to clash. And because I was one of the people who reported on Bishop Long, I feel like I need to offer my own opinion as to this, my own feelings around it. Because honestly, I can argue both sides of the coin here. Like, to those who are offering compassion, I get it. To those who are withholding it, I get it. I do. I've operated simultaneously at times between both extremes. My personal belief, my spiritual, like my faith dictates that everybody is deserving of compassion. That is a much easier thing to say than it is to operate in. Because, there's a certain element of hypocrisy taking place right now where I'm really just wondering if we are offering this compassion because he was a figure in church, in ministry. Because I have to sit back and objectively think to myself, if everyone is deserving of compassion and I ergo offer him compassion, do I need to extend that same compassion to Timothy McVeigh, to Saddam Hussein, to Osama bin Laden, to literally everyone? Because we tend to place widespread physical harm at a higher level of import than we do widespread emotional damage. And I'm a living witness to the premise that physical scars heal, but when the soul is damaged, it takes far more work, if it can be healed at all. And so I'm not just going to automatically jump on the, he's so deserving, he's so worthy, and no, I'm not. I'm absolutely human, and that's just what it is. On the other side of things, if I withhold from Eddie Long the kind of grace and promise of heaven that Eddie Long and the Eddie Longs of the world routinely deny people like me and people like those that I love, am I any better than they are? So there's that little quandary. My personal stance is that this man is gone, and it's really up to the higher power of your choosing as to what's to be done with him. I will never rejoice in the death of another. My heart, my convictions simply won't allow me to do that. But I can't help but think of the multitude of people in my community who died by their own hand, believing with their entire hearts that the promise of heaven and the love of a supreme being would never belong to them. And that belief system was perpetuated by Eddie Long and the Eddie Longs of the world. And if you are to believe the news reports, he discovered that he was terminally ill in December. And that time left could have been spent encouraging people to seek a higher power for themselves. It could have been spent atoning for some of the things that he said. It could have been spent atoning for some of the things that he did, and it could have been spent offering remorse to the lives that he adversely affected. And none of that happened. I don't know what that says about him, but to know that one more person will not be condemning my community to a hell that they don't own, it's not the worst news I've gotten this month. That's just the way I feel. I'd be very interested in hearing your opinions on how this should be dealt with by those who are left behind. I mean, including you. I mean, do you believe in offering this grace, or are you okay with withholding it? And understand here that there are no, first of all, there are no easy answers, and second of all, there are no right answers. It's really deeply personal. So let me know how you feel. And that's that. I'm out of here, y'all. I will be back soon enough. One love.